Hello, passengers, and welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to Orange County, California, and the Bluth Banana Stand. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that while there is always money in the banana stand, there are not always life vests under your seat on the TV Pilot's License, so may the odds be ever in your favor.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kurbis, joined by Rich Inman and Max Singer, and boys, we're talking Arrested Development today.
It's about time.
This is the Russo brothers Marvel cinematic tie-in, right? This is the Russo brothers' first film in the Marvel universe?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I know I'm very excited to talk about this historic show that came out in 2003. This is 22 years old, which is absolutely nuts.
I watched the show for the first time about on an inch-long screen on my iPod.
This is an iPod original. This is definitely one that everyone got that first episode for free and said, hell yeah. Well, Max, for folks who may be frequent flyers, for folks who may be here for the first time, what is TV Pilot's License all about?
Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilot episodes in making us want to watch more, and if they can be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And Rich, what is your question of the week?
What a great question. My question of the week this week is, how much would you do for your family? Would you, if we're going number of episodes, because I feel like we've all watched this show almost in its entirety or in its entirety. How far would you take the George Michael character? I'm sorry, not George Michael, the Michael Bluth character and of Jason Bateman, and how long would you continue to still support your family?
I mean, they're committing misdemeanors or felonies. That's a bit.
Some light treason, maybe.
Well, I have mixed feelings on this because family is, our blood is thicker than water, as they say, but also I don't think I would do that well in prison, given all the fraud that is happening in this show. So, I think to a level, but also I think that my family would understand if they committed a crime and said, very much did the senior Bluth move, or the Jeffrey Tambor move of like, hey, it was not the right time, but I can't say why. It was the right time. Max, I'm curious, what are you feeling?
I don't think I would go to prison for anyone, but as far as the Michael idea of at some point you have to learn to bury the hatchet, even if people are peeving you to an extent that you can't begin to describe, I think that at a certain point, I would let all bygones be bygones for the sake of family and for the sake of relationships, and at some point, you need to stay in the model home, because it is not worth moving to Phoenix, Arizona under any circumstances.
I completely agree. I'd rather be dead in Orange County than alive in Arizona. I personally would not make it to minute 3 of this episode before I was like, call me when you're out.
Yeah. I think that's very fair, though.
Yeah.
It's definitely brings up quite a conundrum. Well, Rich, thank you so much for that for your question of the week. Let's talk a little bit more about Arrested Development. And we're going to start off with a quick synopsis. Level-headed son Michael Bluth takes over family affairs after his father is imprisoned, but the rest of his spoiled, dysfunctional family are making his job much harder. Which, yes, I think that we definitely saw the beginnings of this on today's episode, but Max, can you tell us a little bit about how this show got made?
Today, we're talking about the pilot episode of Arrested Development, which originally aired on November 2nd, 2003 on Fox, and the show's creator, Michel Hurwitz. Born in Anaheim and raised in Orange County, Hurwitz served as a writer on sitcoms throughout the 90s, including The Golden Girls, The John Larroquette Show, and The Ellen Show. No, not the one you're thinking of, the one she did afterwards. This show is actually the brainchild of Ron Howard, though, child star turned Oscar-winning filmmaker who wanted to create a sitcom filmed in the style of handheld cameras and reality TV, which was taking off. Howard, along with Brian Grazer of Imagine Entertainment, met with several writers, with Hurwitz pitching the concept of a riches-to-rags family. Hurwitz was signed to write a pilot for Imagine using this idea. The script sparked a bidding war between Fox and NBC, with the former winning out and securing the show's rights. The series is notable for its filming techniques being shot on location and in HD video at 24 frames per second, emulating documentary filmmaking and reality TV over the standard network sitcom look. The use of cutaway gags and an omnipresent narrator became hallmark storytelling devices for the series. Today's pilot was directed by Joe and Anthony Russo, who helmed previous TVPL episode Community and have flown largely under the radar in recent years.
Well, Max, thank you so much for that introduction to how this show got made.
Where are the Russo brothers?
Yeah, no one knows. We need more of them. I mean, we start off this show with a very familiar voice. We started off with a Ron Howard Wonder Years-esque voiceover that has become so iconic, which does beg the question, and we've talked about this before, who would you like to voice over your family if there was a documentary series, if you want to go back to...
Bobcat Goldthwait.
Oh, my God. I mean, Max, how are you feeling being introduced to what I've called an episode that is just exposition by Ron Howard?
I think with Arrested Development, you go back and you rewatch it, and there's so many things that you feel like you've seen a million times in the 2 decades since, and to see them on what is basically a JVC handycam for this pilot is fascinating. It feels ahead of its time to think about it in 2003, and I can see how people didn't get it. Like, if you look at what the sitcoms were of that time, what the comfort food was of the late 90s, early aughts, to throw this at an audience feels so different. And it's also just like the Ron Howard run of this time is exhausting, and this must have felt so nice for him to go from How the Grinch Stole Christmas to A Beautiful Mind, and then just finally taking a break with Brian Grazer producing to do Arrested Development. Like, this must have felt so freaking good to do after those two movies.
I truly don't know, after watching this on an iPod with Handycam, I truly cannot believe that I didn't throw up watching this.
I mean, this is such an interesting show, Rich, and you were one of the people that I was thinking of the most when I was watching this pilot, because this show, why is today different? Well, there's a big old party on a boat. But the real reason why I was thinking about you is we like to talk about why people are good at their jobs and seeing people be good at their jobs. And boy, do you think anyone is good at their jobs on this pilot?
It is like they took the cast of Law and Order, took all of their good qualities that make them good police officers and lawyers and detectives and stuff like that, and said, how do I turn this all inside out? How do I make them so aggressively bad at their jobs that it is like that's the only joke? It is the most incompetent show that I've ever seen, or a cast of characters that I've ever seen, and it's so perfect.
But you have this one straight man that holds it all together, and I feel like this is a show that does such a delicate dance where it could have gone off the rails. It is so many big, despicable personalities that could so easily drive you away, but somehow it manages the balance, a concept that the Russo brothers will revisit 15 years later with Thanos. But they manage to nail it, and Hurwitz nails it, and it just somehow comes together.
This is a show, and to stray to another topic, that you look at the cast list, and it is just a bunch of heavy hitters. And reading through the casting of this show, right? Like, David Cross's character was not planned to be a series regular in the show when they originally were scripting it, right? I mean, rather than talking by character, because I think we would be here for 3 hours, no less.
I know.
Is there a character that you would like to really point to and give some shine to?
I mean, for me, it has to be David Cross, Tobias Funke. I like the idea of an outsider in this family. There's an entirely new perspective that you get because they're not a part of the Bluth dynamic. And I think it's important that you have someone who plays that card. And he kills it. I mean, obviously, coming from Mr. Show and his sketch comedy background, his stand-up background, he brings such a fun physicality to this, and physicality in a way of, like, he's not doing like pratfalls and stunt comedy, but he just composes himself in a way that captivates you as a watcher. And yeah, I love the outsider perspective that he brings.
It brings the question, did Arrested Development walk so Succession could run, with the very much the build of it?
I was exactly thinking Succession when you read the synopsis of the show. I was like, oh, this is because they have not mentioned jokes or incompetence whatsoever. This is Succession.
But Jesse Armstrong, that's someone who came from like British comedy. That's someone who did things like the IT Crowd and did all these farces and satire. And then Succession, he's had other things that were dramatic, but like it is in a way taking those kinds of people and flipping on their head through the lens of someone with a rich comedic background.
For sure.
I mean, Rich, was there a character or a portrayal in this episode that you were like, my dear God, I could only talk about this and this?
I mean, the person who always comes to mind for me when I'm talking about Arrested Development or thinking about Arrested Development is Jessica Walter as Lucille Bluth. I think she has arguably the best lines. You know, whenever there is a Simpsons related person on Conan O'Brien's podcast, he's always like, all I wanted to do was write for Mr. Burns. And the people in the writing staff were like, okay, you have to also write for the Simpsons characters too. And I'm like, all I would want to do is write for Lucille Bluth. She has the most quotable lines in the entire series. What could a banana possibly cost, Michael? $10 is like the most memorable line from this show in its entirety.
Yeah, and for myself, to almost use as a segue into this show, to be Jason Bateman's character in this, to be Michael Bluth, is critical. Because while Michael is seen as the sane one in this family of misfits, he's also one of the largest idiots of all of the people. And I think that's the most critical thing, is to play this person with supreme confidence that they know what is going on, only to watch them actually do things like live in a home that's not a real home, and be like, yep, everything's fine, and we have hidden the cereal boxes in the fake turkey.
It's weird. It's weird world logic. It's that this character makes these decisions that are absolutely baffling, but they're able to justify them all with a sense of reasoning where you go like, okay, like I understand where you're coming from. And so it's like the least straight man character of all time.
Well, let's move into why is today different than any other day. And Michael very much exclaims, as well as Ron Howard voiceover, because he decided to never speak to these people again. And Max, specifically, do you think that is a good why is today different?
Yes, because I think that if you are establishing the show up top as something that feels like akin to the Wonder Years or family-focused sitcoms of the 80s and 90s, to then flip it on its head and be like, and it's a family that fucking hates each other. That is different.
You're right.
And it's taking a framework that you know, and it's taking it in a direction that you don't know. And so I do think it is a strong why is today different.
See, that's Succession too. It's just they hate each other. They really do. It does feel like they hate each other throughout that show.
But the thing that this show does that I think is so because at this point in time, the concept of dysfunctional family, and that's why you watch this show, is not anything that is so unique. But Max, you sort of talked about how this show is filmed, how this show is edited with these major cutaways and stuff like that. This new approach, it's almost like, you know, when someone does a new interpretation of pizza. We love pizza. Why would we make it any different? You have a crust, you have cheese, you have sauce, and then if you're in Chicago, as some of the other TV shows we've talked about, you just have mush that is served to you and said enjoy. Right. But as far as this show, it does do a great job of taking. And you have to congratulate the Russo brothers of directing it and being like, we're going to make this different. And then with the writing that it has, it deserves something different as well.
And it's non-linear in the way it tells stories. It uses all of these cutscenes to emphasize jokes. It uses cutaways to newspaper headlines and shots of banners in rooms to tell its story. It's not just multicam. It's an A plot, a B plot, and a C plot, and we wrap up and we have a resolution at the end with a neat little bow on it. It is telling this story in all of these different directions, not to necessarily get to a resolution, but just to get to a break. And even the way the episode ends, where there is an extended preview of what's to come. It's not a neat little bow. It's to say, this is actually going to follow a plot. This is going to follow an arc. This is going to be this longer story that we're telling here. And all of that just feels like, again, something that we've seen so much in today's day and age, but is novel for 2003.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, let's dive more into this.
I mean, we do. I think I said it early at the beginning of the podcast, right? I feel like this is an episode of exposition.
Yes.
For like, it's one of those things where it just feels like we're giving a lot of, why are we here? Why are we here? Why are all these characters here? But I mean, do you guys get bored of the exposition? Because I think it's done so expertly that you feel like it's, I need to know. Tell me everything about this character, because I just heard about the other one and I almost pissed my pants.
Yeah, it's so quickly done that it felt like it was condensed from a larger number of pages. Like, excuse me. So basically we're rattling off all these individual characters, and not only do you get a sense of their personality and their wants and stuff like that, like, you know, Lindsey, Michael, George Michael, etc., but you also get a joke from each one of them that you can take away with them.
Yeah.
And that's also incredibly important. There is no weak link in this. There is a different interaction. You can immediately start putting all of them together in the room, like one-on-one, and know what those interactions are going to be like.
There's no one in this ensemble that I leave this episode not being able to describe, that I can't give you a painting of who this person is, what their wants are, what drives them. And yeah, you don't necessarily need to be bogged down in too many plots, even though we very much clearly get an A, a B, and a C.
Yeah,
definitely.
But you leave with such a composite of who these people are. They do an amazing job getting you 3 storylines and establishing who this ensemble is, and getting all these jokes in like 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this pilot point by point, but I think that we need to almost focus on what our big incident in this pilot is, what really gets things moving, which is that we have this big announcement happening at a boat party, right? That we start at the boat party, we flash backwards, and then we are back at this boat party in present day. And I mean, we haven't talked about Jeffrey Tambor at all in this.
Not yet.
And the few moments we get him in this pilot are fantastic. He really does almost steal the show, but you also get the sense of, very similar to Succession, this patriarch is the reason why this family is why they are, because in those few moments you're just like, oh, I get everything that we are seeing right now and why this was enabled.
And coming off of The Grinch with Ron Howard and Brian Grazer right before this as well. I mean, you know, this is someone who they had to have known that what he could bring to the table. And just like Michael, you see with George Sr. the weird world logic and these things that they say that feel absolutely like asinine to hear out loud, from his phone call voiceover when he's getting arrested by the SEC, that's the Security and Exchanges Commission, not the Southeastern Conference, to the logic that he gives Michael for the reason he made decisions he made. Does it make sense? No, to an outsider, but yes to the person who is like saying it with such conviction. And that's what you need. You just need to have people who believe in what they do, and you see that behavior trickle down into every single member of this family.
And that's really how he like maintains control of this family too. Number one, through money, but number two, because he's a con man where everyone else is an idiot, except for Michael mostly. Michael just gets the wool pulled over his eyes constantly. You know, he's the fool for trusting everybody. Then that's basically it. But yeah, you get it all you get the competence on his side for the con up until the moment that he like gets the news that no, a husband and wife can actually get tried for the same crime. That is, he seems to know what he's doing in a criminal sense up until that moment.
But I do think it's important. One of the things that this pilot does a fantastic job is we set up our fools, right? We set up all of these ridiculous habits and the idea of how these people behave with money, just to see what happens when this person that's been hiding all of this stuff from them disappears. How do they react without it? And I mean, it's this show is absurdist. I don't know how else to put it. Like, it is a tame version of absurdist, but was I so excited for when we get that news report of revealing like what happened once the SEC was trying to get our George. Yes, I was like, no, you can't just tell me that he was arrested. You have to show me exactly what this moron did in this instance. And it's one of the few times or one of the many times where showing not telling was expertly used in this pilot.
Yeah, it is very interesting that there are heavy consequences for him specifically, but it doesn't. Everybody else in this world, in addition to the family, are stupid. There is no. It is hilarious that the SEC does still get like the job done, basically, because everyone in this entire universe is a bumbling idiot.
And that's what's fun, though, too,
Yeah.
is it's like everyone is playing the same game. And again, you mentioned we see the actual thorough description of what happened to George Sr., how the arrest went down. And it's the ability you get to do those kinds of jokes when you're not bound by like a 3/4 stage and fake walls, when you can shoot on location, when you can go back and insert these little cutouts and cutaways. The other thing that I'm just, in terms of like storytelling and the character, it's like, it's the use of like volume and levels too, that going back rewatching really captivated me, where everyone speaks so differently and everyone kind of alternates between highs and lows and loud and quiet, and they're sitting and standing, and they create all of these different levels and tableaus where there's always something different happening. Like no two scenes sound alike or look alike, which I think is really, really interesting and such a strong directing choice.
It's also such a difficult thing to do, to not, because there is like a voice to this show. I don't know how to really describe it, but it does to your point, like they changing all of these up in such unique ways is like, it's difficult, and it's a really strong choice, and it's probably what made the show so memorable in the first place.
So I want to bring up two things, and I talked a little bit about the concept of Michael departing, or George being arrested and seeing this house of cards fall very, very quickly and showing every character's motivation. But this is technically a show about a dysfunctional family, right? But very different from most dysfunctional families. Normally in those shows, they show us like, hey, even though we're dysfunctional, like think Modern Family, even though we're dysfunctional, we're still together and we're still a family. Do you think this show even tries to approach that with any of the characters other than Michael?
I would say there is like Buster is hard to shake loose from that, but that feels like a Munchausen syndrome kind of a situation. There is definitely a strong tie that Michael and Lindsey have together. That's very clearly just being torn apart that's only being pushed apart by other members of the family. But there is clearly like some sort of bond that they. Did they say they were twins in
Yes.
Yeah, they're canonically twins, and there is like a expectation of better behavior from Lindsey than she's getting, or than he's getting. And yeah, I mean, I would say that those two do seem to be the we're gonna stay together kind of aspect of this, even though like once again the wool's being pulled over Michael's eyes on that relationship too.
I mean, Max, we have George's reveal from prison, right? We have seen these people say, well, Jessica is like, well, I'm the head of the company now, and very, very quickly throwing away that responsibility when she reveals there's nothing glamorous about the opportunity itself. Do you feel like you're getting just more peeks into the chaos, or do you feel like this is developing the show and the universe a little bit more to you?
I mean, I think that even throwing away responsibility is a character choice, and to get gifted something that means so much to a person and then immediately pass it off to someone else, like that says so much about Lucille Bluth. Like I get so much out of that. And so, yeah, I do think that even in not taking up the mantle, we get such a clear portrayal of her, and all of these actions have other like actions and other consequences, and those consequences have consequences, and there's just always this ripple. Like there's always something new that you can see from this show and from these relationships. It's such a great example of I get a peek into everyone, but I also get enough that I can see any two people in a room after this, and I want to see what that scene looks like.
Well, I'm curious, gentlemen. We do get, after Michael threatens to leave, accepts a job in Arizona, he is reminded of the importance of family, the importance of steering a group of idiots to shore safely. And that is sort of the resolution of this pilot. But we get something interesting that I haven't seen recently, which is that extended preview at the end of the episode. Those small clips, some included in the next week's episode, some very much not included in the next week's episode. Did we like that as a tool to garner the audience's interest?
Definitely. I don't think it's necessary for me to like want to tune into the next thing.
Sure.
For sure, I'm I was hooked by just the jokes per minute in this, but you do get like I love it more when they put stuff in the previews that doesn't happen in the next episode. That's hands down way funnier for me. But yeah, I mean, if you are going to be, this is a rapid pilot. This is like a sharp 20 minutes at most, and that includes everything feels like almost like a YouTube series. It's so fast. So you're like, yeah, how do I hold this excitement until next week? Well, I get this is going to happen next week.
Well, and I think that you in 2003 didn't have the expectation of a 30-minute sitcom on a network could be serialized.
Yeah.
And I say as someone who was 12, but, you know, I'm not expecting serialized sitcoms. And so to do that, to say that our story is not done, to say that there is something, all of these things are going to continue. There's nothing new that we're going to shift to next week. That feels key to an audience expectation of, you thought this was done and something brand spanking new is going to happen, or George Sr. will magically be out of prison next week? Nay. Like, this is how we're going to tell our story.
I have a quick question about that, because I just realized what this could potentially mean, because they do break the fourth wall in this show a lot about making sure that Arrested Development stays on the air. Do you think this is a strategic thing from Mitch Hurwitz to try to make sure Fox can't cancel this because people already got the preview for the next episode?
We're going to talk about that.
No way.
In the news and notes about how Mitch Hurwitz really approached that. But I do think I think it is a really good way of just speaking of this as if we didn't know anything, right? Like if we were just watching this and saying, okay, I think it's a really great way, because one of the things that, Max, I'm not sure if you mentioned this or not, and apologies, but Rich, we were talking about this. This show was pitched in February, filmed in March, and then put into the fall slot for September. That's an insane turnaround. So I would not be surprised if they just were like, great, this is perfect, and we really like all these shots that we did. Here's a preview of the next week of what the next episode would be, just so that you can imagine it and imagine these characters in chaos.
They really did only, I mean, I guess if we're talking about the amount of planning that went into this pilot, and there is a lot, but they really only kept it to 4 locations: the boat, the planned house, or the sample house, Lucille's apartment, and jail. Yeah. And that's kind of it.
And on top of that, you know, you mentioned earlier that David Cross was not initially going to be as big of a featured role in this, and Jeffrey Tambor was only signed on to the pilot when they did this. So you have limited budget, or at least made to look like limited budget, despite having, Brian Grazer behind you. You have a cast with limited expectations, perhaps. You're doing something that is subverting expectations, and we're going to then give you this trailer that says, and it's not done, that there is more, that if you are liking the absurdism of this, we are going to even twist that screw further. We're going to go farther down this rabbit hole. And if you're in, this is what's in store for you.
Definitely.
Well, gentlemen, that is our pilot. But I want to talk about things that we love, because we didn't speak too much to some of the jokes in this show. We didn't speak too much to some of the details of the show. So I want to give you the opportunity. Was there something that you loved about this pilot that you want to give a little bit more shine to?
There's so many lines in this pilot that make you go, oh my God, I can't believe that's from the pilot.
Yeah.
It is like the tricks are what a whore does for money line. I love all my children equally. I don't care for Job. Is like all of these. This became if this show came out in 2014, 2015, it'd be memed to death. It is timeless. It is such a great, just an example of great script writing, of great joke writing. It is not doing it in the multicam format. It is doing it in a, like, someone who just absolutely loved the Naked Gun growing up and stuff like that. It is subverting expectations for jokes and just rapid. I just like it's one of the most quotable shows on earth, and the pilot's no exception.
I want to give a quick shout out to Chad Einbinder as the dad at the birthday party who fires Job. That's the husband of Lorraine Newman and father to Hannah Einbinder. It's a fun little cameo that he has in this. I've touched on the cutaways and the visual gags, but two, I have to highlight the newspaper headline of sleeping tourist has sternum broken is so funny. Not just even in the phrasing, but that would be a front page, like an A1 news story. And like, again, just weird world logic that makes the front. And then the banner of Lindsey's fundraiser for Hoop, hands off our penises.
That is insane.
It is so funny. It's also just like a funny vowel sound of like the oop sound in it, just fun to say. But this show makes you read complimentary.
Yes.
Yeah, and for myself, I think it's the willingness to commit to the bits, right? I love a show where I have to guess how many times they filmed a single line, because I'm just like, oh, because I would lose my mind if I said that, right? Like the idea of just everything with the magicians in this show. I was just like, yeah, no, there's no way that they did this in less than 5 takes.
This was approved magician.
Yeah, the Alliance magicians, like the showing of how the trick was done, and then just him being like, the Alliance is not going to like this. Like that it's so well done, and the willingness to commit to absurdity is something that I truly think is applauded.
Definitely.
What about wait a minute moments? Were there any things that caused you pause with this pilot that you thought were even in poor taste, or maybe you just didn't enjoy in this pilot? I'm genuinely curious for the two of you.
This is going to sound super nitpicky, but I know that they just blew up this plot line. But like maybe kissing George Michael is like, just like a nearly unbelievable bit of like teenage or child logic that just seems like that's not going to, I don't think there's anyone that age that would actually think to do that. It felt a little.
That's the one bit of weird world logic that was a bridge too far for you.
Yeah, that was it.
Max, what about you?
I mean, yeah, it's such a nitpicky thing, but of all of the storylines in this, the relationship and the engagement between maybe Funke and George Michael Bluth is just, it's the one that every time it comes up, I'm just like the least interested in compared to the larger ones. And I know that you have to tie this together. It's like every pair has to have something in this show. Like you can't just have two teenagers who feel like throwaway characters, so you need to do something big.
For sure.
It's just the one that on rewatch did the least for me. I'm also just curious about like the grasp that Orange County, California had on pop culture at this time. This comes out in November of 2003. September of 2004 is Laguna Beach, the real Orange County. The OC is also summer of 2003. We're going to get to Real Housewives in like a year or two. It's like the grasp that Orange County had on our collective pop culture for this little stretch of time truly needs to be examined.
If it was called something else, if it wasn't called Orange County, because Orange County sounds kind of fun. If it was called something else, no one would like it.
Yeah. It's just fun to say.
If it was Delaware County, California, no one would. Sorry for Geoff wearing the Eagles colors. If it was Delaware County, California, no one would care.
completely unintentional. I truly just like this shirt. Well, we do have one more question, gentlemen, an in-flight question. Our in-flight question is from frequent flyer Lauren on Instagram, and Lauren asked, who is the most dysfunctional TV family? Which is a wide damn universe to pick from. So I'm curious, do you have one in mind? I'm going to just go for it. It's The Simpsons. The Simpsons are the most, and I know that's a little bit of a cheat, right? By being like, oh, they're animated. But like, truly, if we look at all of the seasons of The Simpsons, there's never quite an episode where I'm like, you know what they're really good at? Seeming normal and functional. And they've been doing it for so damn long that it's just like, you know what, when I think dysfunctional family, I just have to, it's like an instant reaction. It's the damn Simpsons. So I'm curious, do you guys have one?
I'm going to chime in with the Gemstones from Righteous Gemstones.
That's a great one.
It feels like every single person in that family believes that they are the most important person to the story, and you cannot have that many like dogs trying to eat each other for like that top position without everything crumbling. And yeah, it's one of those two where it's like every once in a while they come back to basics, they come back to family, but it's never going to stick. There's always going to be something that erupts that has them spiraling out of control, and it's just so many giant bombastic personalities that cannot sustain to be in a room together.
Rich?
I don't want to go back into like doing cartoons, so I was like, I feel like there were kids involved in like the House of Cards first family, right?
Maybe
There weren't kids.
Did they have kids?
No, they didn't have kids.
They didn't have kids. Okay.
Very famously did not have kids, actually.
Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know.
But that's two people. That
is a
You're
family.
Right. You're right. They fucking hate each other. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for that in-flight question. If you have an in-flight question for the show, you can submit those at tvpilotslicense.com. You can also leave us a voicemail or shoot us a text at 213-290-1713. Let's talk a little bit about the history of the show. This show had 3 seasons on Fox and 2 seasons on Netflix, totaling 84 episodes. Let's talk a little bit about what happened and why the transition. So when the 3rd season had started, there was a rumor about Arrested Development being picked up by Showtime. Like already Fox was done with it. And Hurwitz said, hey, I do not want to move the show to another network. I want to keep it on Fox. And then Fox promptly said no, and then canceled it and sold it to MSN Video. Yes, Microsoft Network of Video for syndication, and then they also sold the rights to G4 as well for syndication, which really just shows like how excited Fox was to get rid of that show.
Is that the video game TV channel?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
So then,
That's how I know Olivia Munn.
The Arrested Development RPG.
So let's do the math really quickly. We go 2003 to 2004, 2004 to 2005, 2005 to 2006. 5 years later, in 2011, at the New Yorker Festival, there was the word spread when the cast did a reunion that there was an intention to film a 4th season, a small season, and that Hurwitz was going to be involved with it. The rights to it got sold to Fox and Netflix, and then it was received so poorly that Netflix decided to recut the entire thing and make it into a new show.
That first season back was rough, and then you can also tell that everyone had become so famous that no one could film with each other.
Yeah.
Everyone's schedules are so bizarre that
that was when we were talking about Jason Bateman as a movie star. And it was a big old deal. They did end up filming a 2nd season. As far as how this show did when it was actually on air, the first season ranked 120th, and that was the best season of the show with 6.2 million viewers, which today sounds like a ton. But back in 2003, we're talking about those are rookie numbers. You need to be pumping those up. Let's talk a little bit about awards. 114 total nominations, including 30 wins. That includes 3 primetime Emmy wins for the first season. A lot of those were for the pilot. Rich, I talked to you about this.
They put up the pilot for Emmy consideration. That's almost never the case, right?
It's actually a lot Sex and pilots and finales.
Yeah, and the wild thing was looking at who it beat out was like, it beat out Sex and the City. It beat out Curb Your Enthusiasm. It just was like Will and Grace was another one.
It's Indiana in the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
Talking about this and talking about its ratings versus its awards recognition, it's truly like they're the two worlds things. It's like you talk about the show the way that people talk about the Velvet Underground in retrospect, where it's like this surely this must have been the biggest band on the planet, and it's like they sold no records, but there's this incredible critical acclaim. The stuff is held up over the years. It's viewed as this like benchmark for what rock and roll and so much of like indie rock would be for decades to come, and it's still so influential.
Yep.
And Arrested Development is the same thing, where it's like everyone who had to make this on a company level fucking hated it, is what it sounds like. And people didn't get it. But there were people who had clout and say when it came to year-end lists and awards and Emmys that were like, no, like, guys, like this is groundbreaking. This is good. And it just didn't click with people. And now 20 years later, we revere it as this milestone and this achievement of the 21st century.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as just a summary of the awards, Jason Bateman did receive a Golden Globe for his performance, and the show did receive a Teen Choice Award nomination, but there are unfortunately no surfboards in the banana stand. Rich, it is your time for your game of the week.
All right, so this is a little bit hard to do because, like, I mean, we know so much about this entire cast now, but there are a couple Arrested Development fun facts, like stuff that people have. I mean, there's no getting around it. This is a extremely popular show and has tons of like online lore around it. I want to know two different questions here. The original pilot script written by Mitch Hurwitz was how many pages long? A, 60, B, 70, C, 80, D, 90.
I'm going to say 80 pages. I'm going to guess it's a lot of descriptions. It's a lot of like action.
Yeah, 80 does sound about right in this instance, just especially with the voiceover that we're dealing with. We're dealing with like a lot of just elements.
And he used a big font and double spaced it.
Yeah, 100%.
So just, it is 70. It is a 70-page script. If you're looking to make a comedy half-hour show for a network, you're looking around maximum 33 pages. That's how crazy he went over with it.
I dare you to bring a 70-page 30-minute sitcom pilot into any class, any meeting, and see what they tell you.
Deal. All right, second, one of my favorite running gags, George Michael's forgettable girlfriend Ann Veal, who gets the nickname Her and Egg. True or false, the character was so forgettable that multiple actors were used and no one noticed.
Oh, geez. I'm going to say true.
I'm going to say true, too. There's a lot of people with that IMDb credit.
Oh, actually?
No, I'm just saying.
True. There are two actors. The very first Anne was played by Alessandra Torresani before having it fully taken over by the actress Mae Whitman. But yeah, that's
amazing.
Arrested Development fun facts trivia.
Well, gentlemen, that is our flight. But I have two questions before we go. The first being, would you watch more based off of the pilot and the pilot alone? And the second being, we're talking about a untraditional, especially in how it was filmed, TV show where that was willing to take the risks as far as filming format, as far as the jokes that were done, as far as taking up a slot that it earned for 3 seasons and did not exactly blow out the numbers that as far as what we were seeing.
Right.
Is there a space for that sort of stuff on primetime TV, or is it going to be relinquished to streamers, which is not a nasty word,
No.
just is that what the format of
oh no,
world
my
that we
show's
live
going
in?
to get seen by 10 times the amount of people.
So, Rich, what are you thinking?
First of all, I have watched every episode of this show, even the extremely poorly received and poorly cut 4th season. I am absolutely watching more of the show. It is the best. It's 30 Rock levels of jokes per minute. When it comes to shows like this getting a chance, God, please, can we get more chances of shows that feel like this? And I know Mitch Hurwitz is like a comedy genius in his own writing, but man, I would kill for another show that makes me feel the way Arrested Development did when the first season
Max,
came out.
what are you thinking?
I mean, yes, this is an obvious one for me to keep going and wanting to rewatch. I'm probably due for one anyways. Rich, you hit on this earlier. It's amazing how many things that feel like touchdowns of this series occur in these first 20 minutes. And it's amazing. It's an amazing ensemble. It's lightning in a bottle. For your second question, I'm always going to beat the drum for shows that feel like they are this character driven versus the slice of life and hyper realism type of comedies that really dominate this landscape. And I do feel like, and these are all shows that are off the air now, but I feel like I see the DNA of this in a 30 Rock. I see its DNA in a Community. I see its DNA a lot in something like What We Do in the Shadows. And I think those types of shows that subvert expectations, that do untraditional storytelling and use different types of storytelling devices, that play big characters, that play with sound and landscapes and tableaus in interesting ways, like they're always going to find an audience. Like there's always someone there for that show.
Yeah.
And I hope that instead of just trying to do things that are so slice of life and me just playing a version of myself, we get these things that are so big and are so over the top.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in complete agreement with both of you. Rather than just saying each of your points, yeah, of course I'm gonna watch this show, more of it. It is such a well done pilot that truly we only do have so much development of all of the characters, but I'm so curious about what happens next with each of them. And then, yeah, as far as different formats, yeah, don't give me the same. Give me something that I am excited to say, this is weird as hell, and I can't wait to see what's next. Like, there is an audience for weird as hell, and I think it is most likely on streamers because more people can see it, and that's not a bad thing. Saying your show is a streamer is not a dirty word anymore.
You know, I watched this pilot back, and I see the directing choices made by the Russo brothers, and I say to myself, you know what? I understand why they got to do You, Me, and Dupree.
Oh my gosh. Well, gentlemen, that is our flight. But before we go, I want to make sure that folks can find you wherever you want to be found. Rich, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. You can find original sketch comedy from Max and myself over on TikTok at Dadwagon Comedy.
You can find me disappearing in the Aztec tomb and on all things social media at Maxwell Singh.
And you can find me serving bananas in the banana stand because there's nothing else in there, no matter what anyone says. It's okay. But if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at Run Geoff Run. If you're looking for the TV Pilots license, you can find us anywhere you watch or listen to podcasts. You can absolutely see our smiling faces on YouTube, and you can find us on almost all social media platforms. If you have a question for the show, make sure to submit those at tvpilotslicense.com, or you can shoot us a voicemail, leave us a text at 213-290-1713. Make sure to watch out for some of the stuff that we have coming up. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies and your fingers on the dial.
Hands off our penises.
Oh my God.